Hi, my name is Michelle and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about Tye Tribbett's interview with The Breakfast Club, where he actually stated that he thinks the institution of the church is whack. So let's talk about that. But before we do that, please like and subscribe to my channel. I am a small YouTube channel and I can only grow with your support. So let's get into this video.
I think a lot of pastors were not called to pastor. They just, study, you go to school, and then you just become a pastor, like you become a manager at, Publix or something like that. And that's unfortunate for a lot of people who invest their, money, time, attention, and their soul into people who they believe are literally called from God. I don't believe a lot of pastors are. I think it's a system now. Oh God, it's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it. I benefited from it. But I learned that God is not the church.
He already said he thinks that the institution of the church is whack. Even though he grew up in the church and he said that he gained a lot from the church, he thinks it's whack. Later in the interview, he kind of elaborates a little bit and talks about what he means by whack. Just a little bit he elaborates. But yeah, I agree that certain aspects of the church has problems, but I wouldn't just call the entire institution of the church whack. And I like Tye Tribbett. I think he's very talented. Like, he seems like a genuine guy and that he genuinely wants to serve people. But these comments I don't like. And we're going to talk about, like, what did God intend the church to be? What was Jesus's original plans for the church, and why we actually need the institution of the church. Acts 2:44-46 says, "And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together, breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts." So this was God's original plan for the church, was people meeting together, providing for each other, supporting each other, meeting together, being a family. That was God. This is God's intention for what the church should be. And while, yes, many churches have missed the mark, many of us have missed the mark. And we talk about that, how, there are issues in the church. None of us are perfect. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. Thoughts of man and the ideas of man and how we think Christianity should go will get in the way. But there is an original blueprint. And when you have churches that stick to that blueprint, to how the church is supposed to be, you have a great church. And there are many, many great churches out there. So I don't think that we should just say that the entire institution of the church is whack, because it's not.
And once I realized, whoa, God ain't church. That for me, you know what I mean? I ain't from the streets, I'm from the church. So that was a huge thing as well.
It's in the Bible, though. It says you can't even find God in a man-made temple.
Why don't we read that, though? How often do you hear that sermon? No, you hear pastors make the people about the church. We got the church name, we church and the bumper sticker, the church. The church should be about the people. The church should be about the people, but the church makes the people about the church. So all churches now are a movement, but they're not about the people. They're not about serving and loving the people.
It says that you can't find God in a man-made temple. And when I hear people say stuff like that, we don't really need the institution of the church, and you can find God outside of church, which yes, you can find God outside of church. God is constantly reaching out to people daily outside of church, anywhere. He can reach you wherever you are and whatever you're doing. But I don't think that we should just completely discount the institution of the church, because we need the institution of the church. We need it. We need that structure. We need that. God designed it for there to be a pastor, overseers. He designed for there to be ministers. He designed for there to be lay people, communion and breaking bread with people. He designed the church to be the church for a reason. Ephesians 2:20-22 says, "Built on the foundation of apostles and prophets, Christ Jesus himself being the cornerstone, in whom the whole structure being joined together grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit."
So I just kind of pulled that. We online right now. We're not even in a building, a physical building or nothing like that. So Live Church, shout out to Live Church. I love y'all so much. Live Church Orlando, we're online right now. And because we had an issue with a building, and now I'm like, hold up. What's going on here? Like, do we need like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, in order to do what we need to do, affect people, serve and love and minister, I'm just looking at everything differently at this point, because the church structure has really, I mean, there's a lot of people who won't even go to church. Obviously, when the last time y'all been to church?
I go every Sunday.
Okay, not you.
But for me, I used to hate going to church as a kid, right? Because Baptist church, you're staying there 4 or 5 hours. Especially if somebody's getting baptized, you got to dress up. So it made me not necessarily love it, right? And I noticed that with my kids, when I took them to church, it became a chore. Like, I got to get dressed. I got this. But now, on Sunday morning, we can cook breakfast together, sit down on the couch and watch it, and it's comfortable. They ain't got to get dressed. Mommy ain't got to do the kids' hair. They ain't got to make sure things are right because they got to sit in nah, it's not that at all. It's all about the church. Right. Which I prefer. So yeah, we go online. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people who just completely wrote off church and aren't going to church at all. And you also have a lot of people who are staying home and watching church from home, which of course, like, you'll have people who just physically aren't able to go to church, be it because of illness or they just don't have the money, like they don't have the transportation to go to church. My heart goes out to those people. But if you are able to go to church, like, I really encourage you to find a church home. There are great churches out there. We just have to be led by the Spirit to find a good church home. The Bible talks about how, in the last days, as we see the end coming closer, that we shouldn't neglect being with each other. There is something that you get out of actually being in the building, being with other believers, worshiping God together. You get the encouragement, you get support, and you just get the love and the things that you need being in a church. Like, we need that. I just encourage anyone watching who has just written off going to church to try again. Pray to the Lord and ask him, like, should I find a church? Where do you want me to go? And I believe that he will show you where you should go.
The personal has been lost, you know what I mean? And then it becomes to the point where the like I said, the pastor feel like he's God.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
New churches and
that's what I meant by churches is whack. Because I know I went on religious whack, and church people probably like, Tye, you just at my church last week.
Yeah,
I don't mean that. I mean that stuff right there.
Yeah,
and what it's become. I have found it. I think I said it right. Challenging to know everyone in my church, though. I found it challenging. I try to be personable. I stay after church and just. I stand there. Whoever want to come to me, they can talk to me. I don't got the 80 security guards and all that stuff. I stand there, they can talk to me. But it's a challenge to know everybody in the church.
And that's because it's a bigger
it's
church.
Bigger,
you know what I mean?
But you know families though, like
he
in my
said
church.
It's whack, but he later concedes that he understands that there are going to be pastors who have huge churches and they're not going to be able to get to know everybody. And those aspects, like the bodyguards and everything, and stuff like that, pastors not really taking the time to get to know their people, those aspects of the church, he says, is whack, which, I agree. But I don't think we should just lump the entire institution of the church and just say everything is whack then. We need the institution of the church. We need it. And the Bible lays out a blueprint of how the church should be. And when we follow that blueprint, things are great, things are okay, and the church is the church. That's all I have for you all today. I pray that this video blessed you, and Lord willing, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.